Ladies and gentlemen, do you have any idea why my hand is on fire? It's because I'm holding the letter G, which also stands for gene, which also stands for genius, which also stands for get information, which is the number one and most important step before you build any kind of genius mechanism or automated conveyor belt to get customers. You need the right information to put into the machine to make sure you're getting out what you want to get out. So what's that mean? Well, let me give you an example. Have you ever been to IKEA? And Paul, just show some IKEA furniture there. There's nothing worse than going to a furniture store and you see this beautiful desk and it's all assembled and pretty and you're like, oh my gosh, I can see that in my office. And then you get home and it looks nothing like what was set up in the store. And then they give you, when you open up the box, like 15 different pieces. Can you imagine trying to assemble that piece of furniture with no directions? Ah! It would never happen. It's damn near impossible. And if I'm being completely honest, I can't assemble them with directions. So follow me. All right, so the G, ingenious, which is what I'm teaching you and which is what you want to master if you'd like to get customers on demand. We are here in phase one. So before you build an advertising campaign, you actually can't do anything until you have a lot of questions answered. And this is where 99% of campaigns go wrong. So listen, there's three types of questions that you want to ask your ideal client. One is people, two is about their product or services, and three is about their process. You may have seen Marcus Lemonis on The Profit refer to these three quite a bit. So what I'm going to give you is a template so that every time you have a customer, or if it's for your own business as a business owner, the questions you need to be asking yourself in order to have success with social media advertising. All right, so let's start off with the people. So can you guys see this worksheet here on the board? So these are tear sheets. What's fun about this course is it's all about actually taking action. I'm not going to sit up here and recite to you theory. Let's get shit done. And bleep that out, Paul. Get shit done. Don't bleep out that one. I want it for dramatic effect. So check it out. Here, the first few pages of the workbook underneath the G is know your people. First things first, get the name of the business, all right? For the sake of this example, we'll call it BG's Threes, all right? It's a business about shooting threes on the, shut up, it's not important. Next is the number of years I've been in business. Let's say 10. Now, the reason why this matters is because I absolutely, 1000%, if you're a marketer watching this, forbid you from working with a startup because they never have the answers to the questions in the get information phase. And if you don't have the information, you can't possibly build an automated conveyor belt. So right now, from this moment on, you are forbidden from ever touching with a startup. So this question here is really a qualifier. It's a qualifier, right? To see if you can even mess with them. You're looking for established businesses here. Next is the number of employees. How many employees do they have, right? That tells you about the size, the scale, and the growth of what they are. If they're a solopreneur, I recommend probably not working with them because there's probably not a whole lot of room to scale, and there's probably a whole lot of things they need to figure out before proceeding. So the idea of this course is to give you a recipe book. And you want to take this genius workbook and you want to be able to go through page by page and tear out the pages for every single client. And by the time you're done with this process, you'll have an advertising campaign that you can turn on that will turn random strangers in space into paying customers. Sound good? So first things first, you really have to understand the people you're getting into business with, right? Not all clients are created equal. Let me show you one great example. This here is probably the most important chart I'm going to show you. Most people think, stay with me here, that you're allowed to work with assholes. So this is an asshole scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's pretend that goes to 10. And then here is money, right? So there's $1 sign, $2, $3, $4, and it goes up. And a lot of people think I'll put up with a 10 asshole if he pays me 10 money. But the truth is, there is no amount of money that can equal an asshole. If they're anything over about a 3 in assholeness, then you don't work with them. This is your cutoff right here. You can go any amount of money, but once they pass a 3 level of asshole, never work with that person, because money is never going to be more important than your happiness. Now let's move forward. Once you've done the first exercise and evaluated if the client exceeds a 3 in asshole level, now it's okay to work with them. And let's find out more about their actual business. So first things first, of course, we want to know the name of their business. We'll just call this BG's thingy. All right, just for the sake of whatever. And then the next question is the numbers of years in business. Now this is a qualifying question because all we're trying to figure out here is if you're a startup. If you're a startup and you're servicing customers as a marketer, which I know a lot of you are, don't work with that client. As you'll see in the next few videos, this entire section is about getting information. Most startups don't have it, therefore it's impossible to create a solid social advertising campaign that's producing ROI. If you're your own business owner, then this doesn't apply to you. But right here, marketers, qualifying question. You don't work with startups. From this moment on, I forbid you from doing so. Sound good? And do like a sign right here, like, yeah, I forbid you. All right, continuing on, the number of employees. The number of employees, is it 5, is it 10, is it 15, is it 0, is it 100, is it 1,000? You need to know this because this is going to dictate the sales flow that we talk about later. And what I want you to do is literally sit with the client, and most of you are going to be working with small businesses, some of you large, but sit with the client. But if you have a really giant company, then just go straight to the departments. Don't go every single employee. And here's what I want you to do. Write their name. So Courtney and Nicole are sitting right here, so I'll put theirs, right? So Courtney, and it's easy for you guys because you'll have pins and like worksheets, and then you do Nicole, and then Paul, who's filming this, and Andrew, who's filming this. And then I want you to put their department, whatever they do. I'll just say, you know, sales. I'll say account management. I'll say video production, whatever it is. And then what's that person's specific job? So if it's Andrew, it's to film. For Paul, it would be to edit. And this is important. I want you to rate on a scale of 1 to 10 how good they are at their jobs. How good they are at their jobs. For example, if someone tells you, hey, I have a buddy named Steve and he can actually edit all of my videos, right? Even if Steve's not on payroll, but he's helping with the company, he counts. He's definitely the one you need to take account for, right? And he says, okay, I'm gonna hire Steve. And I say, how good is Steve at video? He tells me, Steve's really freaking good at video. I'll give him a solid 8.5. First warning, hey, do you mind if I see some of Steve's work? Because 99% of the time what the client tells you isn't true, right? They think Steve's videos are nice, but realistically for social platforms, it's absolutely garbage. So for these, you want to do your own homework here. If you don't have access to it, then you kind of have to trust the client, but I would really, really grill them and get to the bottom of, is it actually good? Because here's the truth. As we build out these campaigns, and you prescribe a campaign that's heavily, revolving around video, and they don't have the in-house man or woman power to execute that idea, then the whole entire campaign is dead and for naught. Does that make sense? Okay, so continuing on. Next, take for the example of let me erase some of these for you guys. Let's take the salesman, right? Let's say you're focused on everybody in the sales department. All right, and so you say you got Justin, you got T. All right, here's your sales guys. The rating is extremely important, and also the close ratio are extremely important too. Let me explain why. Now, let's say that you find out with the company you're working with is on average closing 20% of their appointments or their leads, whatever that may be. It's different for every single industry. So identify a couple things, not just their close ratio, but their close ratio from different traffic sources. In other words, some people think they're good at closing because everybody they talk to are referrals. They can be horrible salesmen. In the first place, they're going to close a referral. Ask them if they're actually closing people who are considered walk-ins or cold traffic. You want to find the most difficult selling situation and then identify the closing ratio of that, all right? And then also, too, you want to understand who the salesmen are, like the true champions, because you want to make sure the leads that you're bringing to them, right, are quality, and you know that person's going to close and make you look good. Or if you're the actual business owner, you're probably losing a disgusting amount of money by doing simple shit like not tracking your sales. So this stage right here, it takes a little bit of time. It takes a little bit of homework, but it's going to have a huge impact on your campaign. Okay, so now that we've established the name, the numbers they've been in business, we know they're not a startup, they're serious entrepreneurs, they have jobs and departments and descriptions and all that good stuff, and you have a clear understanding of that and who the superstars are. Now I give you permission to move forward to this next question. It says, how familiar is your ideal customer with your business on a scale of 0 to 10? Now why? Why would we ask that question? Why would we ask that question? The answer is, depending on how much brand awareness, which is what we're really asking here, they have, it's either going to make your campaign either more difficult or a lot easier. If you run an advertising campaign for Verizon Network, a lot of people are going to respond, they're going to engage, etc. If you're running an advertising campaign for a company that nobody's ever heard of, it's going to be challenging and it's typically going to be more expensive to get results. I'll explain why in later videos, but just take my word for it because I do this for a living. Next, following this, I want you to move down to current methods of advertising. You're not looking to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes you'll come into a company, especially now in 2017 when you're watching this, and they already have set processes. Like for example, for the last 10 years, they've scaled the hell out of their business leveraging radio advertisements. Or maybe they've been sending out direct mail for the last 12 years. We don't want to break all their shit. They have a good process in place. We just want to take what they've been using and move it into 2017. So the reason why we ask them what are their current methods of advertising, and if they tell me that they've been doing direct mail in flyers and it's making them money, perfect. Do you mind sending me those mailers? Do you mind sending me those flyers? If you're a business owner and you're watching this, the question I want you to ask yourself is this. In the last X amount of years you've been in business, what was your most successful promotion of all time? What was your most successful promotion of all time? Because all we want to do throughout the rest of this process is take that and put it in 2017 actionables. Oh, and bonus tip for you right now, because I forgot to do it when I was on camera last time, so now I got to come back and say it again. Last thing I didn't address yet is the sales. The sales, and you see the quote beneath it. It says, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. A lot of people, especially startups or newer people, they like to blow up how big their company really is. So let's get to the bottom of it. If you're really that big, what are your sales? I know you guys watch Shark Tank, they always ask, well, what are your sales? What are your sales? Well, we've only sold $1,000 in the last 18 months. What? So make sure you're finding out what their actual sales are. But the bigger reason you want to do that is so you can directly show them the impact your campaigns have had on their business. And also, if you're the business owner, you should know exactly where you're at so you can track the progression and make sure you're always measuring, which I will get to in later videos. TTYL, I'm out. All right, so let's talk about this. So who's this client and how'd you get him, John?
So I instead of taking your advice on the put out prospecting videos. I just teamed up with an agency that had an email list already and made some prospecting videos for them to send out to their list.
Cool.
And so one of these clients said, wow, I want to try this. We did something for their Penn State bowl game, and now they had some good results, and they have a travel agency, and they cater to people in Pennsylvania, and they want to set this travel package up to Cancun to spring break in the spring.
I got you. Okay. And so when you said you ran Facebook ads to this right here, is there a way for us to see the ad here? What's on your ad and who you're showing the ad to?
Okay, let me just go on the ad set real fast here.
Yeah. And if you want, you can pull up, if you want to send us the demo link to the ad, I'll review that for you too. But if it's going to take too long, you can just kind of tell me. If you want to send us the link to the ad, we can review that also.
Oh, how do I do that actually? Let me just.
If not, you can just tell me what's on it, and I'll kind of recreate it here.
Okay, let me screenshot it real fast here for you.
Oh, I like that. Okay, cool. Comment in the ad. Once you screenshot it, just add it to the ad that way, or to the conversation. That way everybody can see it and we can pull it up from there. All right, so John is on a call with us right now. We're reviewing his ad campaign live for free because it's 10 days of Christmas and we feel like doing some good. So John, he's made an ad campaign. You made an ad campaign for who exactly? Tell the audience one more time.
Sure. 18 to 24-year-olds in Pennsylvania, all universities in Pennsylvania and Western New Jersey.
Specifically within Western New Jersey? Or?
Yeah, I have a whole list of colleges the lady sent me. So, for example, I think Lehigh University is in Western New Jersey, but let's just say Pennsylvania specifically for this.
So in your ad sets, and then some other stuff, in your ad sets, who exactly are you targeting? So you have 18 to 24, you have these colleges as interests, or like explain it to me. I just want to make sure we have this right.
Oh, yes, okay, they're interests. They're not schools. I know there's a category for schools, but I just put interests and put all those universities down.
Okay.
I should screenshot this and send it to you as well.
You can do that while I'm going through. So 18 to 24, as interests, he's targeting these schools, but not as the actual schools. Hashtag questionable. I'm excited to talk to you about, now, Carly, what kind of business do you have?
We have a nightlife entertainment company. We do tours.
Okay, tours. Got you. And nightlife. All right. And really fast, Carly, just for the audience, have we ever met before? Have we ever talked before? Or is this our very first time meeting?
No, this is my first time meeting you.
Okay, cool. So you do tours and nightlife. So first things first, whenever you guys have a client and they kind of give you something broad with that, we have to really get specific because advertising for a wedding tour versus a wine tour is completely different, all right? So when you say you do tours for nightlife, can you be specific?
Yes, we take people on tours of different clubs here in Vegas. They get into the nightclub for free with us. They don't have to wait in line, and we take them on a party bus. And they basically party with us all night, skip the line, visit the Vegas signs, and party with people from all over the world.
Okay. Now, is that the only thing that you guys do, or are there other services that you provide?
We do have other services that we provide, but that's our most popular product.
Okay, so let's focus on their club tour. Now, your current customers, who are they typically, male or female?
Usually it's females that call in and book the tour in advance, which are the clients that we're trying to target online. Guys are usually last minute. Hey, I'm here in Vegas and we didn't plan anything, so can we go on the tour?
That sounds about right. All right, and what's the age demographic of most of the people that you're touring with?
Well, the broad age demo is 21 to 54, but the more specific one is 25 to 39.
Okay, let's go with the 25 to 39, shall we? Okay.
Okay.
And then what's the number one reason that they're in Vegas when they hit you up?
they are celebrating a milestone in their life, either a bachelorette party or milestone birthday, 21st birthday, 30th birthday, something like that.
Okay, so I'm getting some ideas here. I got something for you, girl. So they got B-days, they got wedding days, bachelorette parties, or maybe a divorce party, right? But a milestone.
All the time.
What are you doing now, all right, now that we understand who we're talking to, what are you doing now to get customers? How long have you been in business, Carly?
I've been in business for about 5 years, and when I first started off, there was only 3 club calls here in Vegas, and the issue that I'm having now is that there's so much competition, and we're losing a lot of our market share.
Got it.
My main mode of advertising previously to this was basically like Groupon and Living Social, so that I could get that nationwide exposure and then convert clients once they call.
Okay, gotcha. So in other words, upsell them. So hey, let me just get on your radar, right? And then from there, I'll sell you some other package.
Okay, yes, pretty much.
Is that what you guys were doing for the most part?
Well, we do that, and then also, like, if they just call and they say, "Hey, we saw you on Groupon," we say, "Okay, great, we'll match that offer here in the office, so that we receive that full discounted price." Obviously, through Groupon, we only get half of whatever the discounted price is.
Got it. Okay, so Carly, let me ask you this question: have you guys ever done any kind of advertising with social media?
Yes, I have. I've tried several different campaigns on Facebook, and honestly, they were not that successful. I spent about $800 one time in a few days, and I was just so disappointed with the results. I literally, I got 2 bookings out of it, and 2 bookings at full price is $100 each, $200. I spent, almost $1,000 to get those 2 people. It said online that I had a huge reach. A lot of people saw the ad, but in terms of return, it wasn't very successful.
Gotcha. Now, my question to you is, what did you say in that advertisement, and who'd you show it to?
Well, we just found our demographics. We tried to target mostly female. We tried to target the people that we know come from different states. So, like California, Arizona, Colorado, our target market. And then in the ad itself, we tried to get them to learn more about the product. So something like, is it your birthday? Will you party for free? Something like that. You know what I mean? So that we already know that you're turning 21 and you can party for free if you just bring your friends. Basically, kind of a deal.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, go ahead, Casey.
Okay, right on. So yeah, in the ad set, right now we're targeting, it looks like, sorry, my internet sucks.
Yeah, no worries.
It looks like it's 7 miles from the address. We're targeting men and women aged 18 through 65. And the reason why I targeted men as well are because there are going to be men that want to, we're not talking like a regular gym, we're talking about, ultra marathon runners who need that competitive edge.
Yep.
So for demographics, I'm targeting, triathlons, people who work for triathlon-based companies. For the interests, I'm targeting people who like climbing, mountain climbing, cross-country running, Cycle Oregon, which actually has endurance racing events, endurance riding, endurance sports, endurance training, half marathon.
Okay, hold on, Casey. Are all of these interests that you're reading, are they all inside of one ad set right now? So is it kind of just a bunch of hot keywords that you're putting into one?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you right there. I just saved you a whole bunch of money right now. Okay, check it out. So when you set your ads, and I see what you have right here, this is how you want to do it, okay? So one is we really want to identify which group is actually going to be the most responsive. If we group them all up in there, you may run the campaign, and if it goes really bad, it's crappy because you don't know what's actually working. For example, you may target people who love triathlons, and their cost per lead may be like $3. You may target people who love CrossFit, and their cost per lead may be $30. And then if you turn it off, we just don't know what's working, right? So we really want to be able to identify what is the hot button here. So what I'm going to recommend is you actually create 5 different ads. And we'll start slower. Create 3 ads, okay, to start. And who I would target there, and the ad's going to be exactly the same, you're just going to duplicate it, okay? So there's going to be 3 ad sets here, excuse me. So number 1 is going to be U.S. I think it's USA Triathlon. Right? I think we've targeted them a bunch. We've done some shit like that in the past. We sold them a whole bunch of shit for many years. So do that. That's a little hot one. We've tested that, okay? USA Triathlon. And specifically, and let me actually erase these other two here. Hold on a second. Use this nifty little board. 1 second. I'll just do these two. All right. So number one is US Triathlon, okay? The other one that I would say, which is kind of similar, but again, these are just ones we've had great results on, is Ironman. Ironman, okay?
Okay.
And then, in addition to this, what were some of the other groups that you were saying that people like would really appreciate? It was bike riding, cyclists. We did shit like that too. Actually, we've done a lot of bike stuff now that I think about it. So the next one, what's like the biggest? What's the fucking race where everybody bikes? Tour de Francia, what the fuck?
Yeah.
The fuck? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the wine one, Tour de Francia. Yeah.
Tour de France. My only concern is there might be people who like to watch that rather than participate. So I was actually focusing specifically on like Cycle Oregon and Seattle to Portland because both of those, like for example, Seattle to Portland is a 200-mile 2-day race. So it's hardcore.
Okay.
But people who like Tour de France might actually want to watch it rather than actually participate.
Watch this. So there's two schools of thoughts to that, right? So if you go with the super niche ones like that aren't going to have a giant audience, here's what happens. You run the advertisement, it works for like 2-3 weeks, and then you go through it. The reason why we like to go with the larger ones, because we think about scale of time. So for example, if you can make these three work and make it really profitable for them, the audiences are so large, they're gonna last you longer. So versus going with small little sects that may come through great, but only for 3 weeks versus 3 months, well, that's time you now have to spend optimizing that campaign, going back and forth, taking you away from prospecting and scaling your business. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So and again, it's not like if you're just going to impress the client and doing those things, it's not bad. But for us, you always try and win to the largest ad set so you can freaking go and blow your own shit out of the water. Now, at the same time, I'm giving you 3 for the sake of this example. But if you want to test the hardcore racing ones that are directly to the area, do those too, right? And don't even start crazy like I would. I'll give you exactly, literally, throw $10 to each one. For something like this, you'll know exactly what you need to do, okay? And then what you're going to need to go on top of that, of these 4 $10, now you have to go men, and then I want you to copy this and do this one for women, okay? So you're going to do US Triathlon men, US Triathlon women, Ironman men, Ironman women, Tour de Francia men and women, and then whatever the hardcore shit is, men and women. So essentially you're going to be double spending that. That makes sense?
Right. Now, the only thing we're missing there, the category that's underserved is actually endurance running, which I think this would also be very, very good for ultramarathons, marathons, and things of that nature, too.
Okay, endurance running. All right, same thing there. So now you got a $100 spend on your first test, okay?
All right, so let's get into it. Let's identify the information that we need to build this automated conveyor belt about the company's products or services. Again, whether you're doing this for your own business or you're a marketer doing it on behalf of their business, it's all the same shit. So here we go. In one sentence, tell me, how does this company make money? In one, stop, you, one sentence. One is all you get. Well, I can't explain what I do in more than one sentence because then you don't have a business and you damn sure can't market it. You understand me? There's power in clarity. So get it down to one sentence of how that company makes money, right? I'll give you an example. My name is Billy Jean, and businesses give me money to help them find customers using social media advertising. Done just like that. Continuing on. The next thing that you want to do is realize that no product or service can be marketed the same. Every single product or service needs its own advertising campaign. That's another reason why you guys are messing up. Think about it. The reason why you would use iTunes is different than the reason you would use an iPhone. Completely different products, completely different audiences, etc. So the biggest thing you have to change, traditional media was all about getting out to the masses. With 2017 Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, it's all about talking to someone specific, right? To someone specific. So let's get into this. questions you need to ask. And in the workbook, these are tear sheets, so you can rip them out. So the following 3 steps I'm going to show you, rip it out, and these go in one pile for each product or services. And if you want to advertise a different product or services, you need to do this exercise again. If you want to advertise another product or services, you got to do it one more time. Let's get into it. First question, customer, explain to me as if I was in 5th grade what this product or service does. I'll say it again, customer, explain to me as if I was in 5th grade what this product or service does. If you ever dealt with like an attorney, someone in psychology, doctors, they love to explain to you what they do with big ass words, and that's the reason why they need your help. So that's a question that I want you to ask for sure. Next, I want you guys to ask yourselves, how much does this product or service cost? The cost is going to dictate the way that we sell this product or service, so make sure you pay attention to that. Next is, what's the greatest benefit that you're selling? Happiness, time, or the result? Happiness, time, or the result. It's the only thing that anybody buys. If I were to buy an Xbox, it's not because I want a machine to sit in my house. It's because I want to connect with my friends and beat my cousin's ass in Madden football. Because when I do, it makes me happy, right? The reason why I bought this very silly smartwatch here is because it vibrates every time I have the next appointment, so it keeps me on schedule. So I didn't buy a watch, I bought time, right? The reason why I'm paying this man Andrew behind the camera is because I want a result, a completed video that you guys can view. No matter which product or service you're selling, it's always going to fall into one of those buckets. Now let me elaborate again on the price. Actually, I won't do that quite yet. Just know this is really important, and I'm going to come back to that, okay? Now next, for this particular product or service, who does it benefit the most? For this particular product or service, who does it benefit the most? And guys, as you're going through this and you're listening to me right now, stop what you're doing, pause the video, and feel this out. Like, take action. Don't wait on this. That's why I'm building a course like this. Now, if you don't know this question and you think your product or service is for everyone, you're full of shit, right? You're full of shit. You have to be specific. I would tattoo it on your wrist or your head or your shoulder or somewhere in there. Just because your product or service can appeal to the masses doesn't mean you should advertise to the masses. So here's what's changing in 2017. Actually, let me get a blank piece of paper and show you guys this. What it used to be is you would have a radio, right? And this radio would send out air messages to everybody within certain zip codes who are picking up this signal. That's about as targeted as you could get. Therefore, everybody spoke in very broad terms because they were matching up to the technology that they had. But listen to this. Now with Facebook, now with Instagram, now with YouTube, we can run one advertisement to women. We can run one advertisement to women 50 and up. We can run one advertisement to women 30 and down, right? So this wasn't possible before, so people haven't created this habit yet. And this is one of the biggest shifts that you have to make. Does that make sense? Does that make sense, guys? Kind of like mapping out for them? Okay, cool. Now let's go back to the worksheet. The next thing you want to do is evaluate your product or service's content. So sometimes a company will have 2 great products. Let's say they sold markers and they sold laptops because it's right next to me right now. Now, let's say that the laptop had a whole bunch more value. A lot of people needed this one. It was way better than all the rest of the laptops on the market, but they had 0 videos explaining the product. They had very crappy pictures to display the product, and they had horrible product descriptions. Now you take product B, which is this marker. but they got videos of the marker and different people using it in different ways. Some people are writing in cursive. Some people are doing like old school Roman font. Some people are like, I don't know, drawing on smart boards. And they have all this fantastic content surrounded by it. You're definitely going to choose this to sell. Today, guys, we live in a day and age where if you don't have content, you will go out of business, period. It doesn't actually matter what product or service that you're selling. It just matters how you sell it. You know the Snuggie, those blankets with the arms, etc.? They were like the third or fourth company to create those type of blankets. The other ones went out of business. Not because their product was better or worse, because they were better marketers and they nailed it on an infomercial. Just remember that. That's a true story too. You can Google that shit. So continuing on. Next question. How is the product or service currently being sold? How is the product or service currently being sold, right? Is it being sold by phone, text, in person? Right? And the reason why you want to know this is because this is going to dictate the type of advertising campaign that we create. So just a quick recap here. First thing we did is we did a one-liner description, okay? Next thing we did is we talked about the cost. Then we focus on what are we really selling? Happiness, time, or the result, because it's never about the actual product, it's only about those three things. Next, we talked about evaluating their content. Is it actually good? And we gave it a 5-star rating if they had a bunch of content. And by the way, a great way to check their content is to do these simple things. Number one, head to their website, check out what they actually have. Number two, go to their YouTube channel, see what they got. Number three, go to their Facebook page, go to their Instagram page. In other words, just stock them. Just stock them. It will take you about 2 seconds. Lastly, I would go to Google and type in Google Images and see what pops up. There you go. You can understand what kind of content they have for that particular product or service, not the company overall. Okay? Now continuing on. Rate the process your product or service is currently being sold. And this is a little bit different. In other words, we're actually dealing with a client right now kind of like this. But if someone has a fantastic service, they have fantastic content, and you can bring them 1,000 leads a day, but then they close 0 out of those 1,000 leads, then my friend, guess what? You're an expense, not an asset. The idea of just sending people customers and saying it's up to you now is a joke. If your clients don't make money, they will fire you. Period. End of discussion. And the last thing I wanted to focus on is who does the service most benefit? And this is where a lot of people get it wrong. I understand your product or service can appeal to many, but who does it most benefit? And a good way to check this is look at a company's previous years and say, who did you sell it to? Let the data dictate who's actually been buying this. I know you think this is your customer, but who's the one swiping? And I would focus all of your attention there. Now there's a next step to this. And that next step is to actually, I want to write this out because it's that important. Stereotype. Stereotype. If you've been following me for any amount of time, then you know I'm a huge fan of stereotyping, mostly because they're true. In the marketing world, a stereotype will make you rich. So I don't care what anybody else says, you need to stereotype everybody, okay? So let's go back here for a minute. Here's a quick questionnaire that you can ask your clients or ask yourself about a particular product or service. And it goes like this. All right, what's the typical age of somebody who would use that product or service? What color are they typically? Are they black, brown, Mexican, Asian? That shit matters. Next, the location of where they hang out. How many of you can tell everything you need to know about somebody just by asking where they live? If I told you right now I lived in Beverly Hills, you go, oh God, you're one of those rich LA people, aren't you? Right? If I told you I lived on Crenshaw Boulevard, you're like, oh shit, you're one of those kids that lives in the hood and is gonna mug me. You can tell a lot by stereotyping somebody by their location. It's a fact. Next is their favorite places to hang out. You can tell a lot by the bar or the restaurant that people like to frequent because there's a certain crowd there. Maybe they're super bougie and they're fancy.
Maybe they're relaxed and they'll just go and eat some wings. It will tell you everything about person, but nothing will tell you more about somebody than the TV shows that they watch. How many of you watch Game of Thrones? I don't. I don't watch that show. But I can tell you a lot about the people who do. How many of you watch Shark Tank? Of course you do, because you're in this fucking class, right? Stereotyping. It really, really works. Next is their groups and associations. If you're identifying like professionals and you want to advertise to dentists, think about it strategically. Dentists went to college. There's certain colleges that specialize with dentistry. Advertise to them. In addition to that, the California bar, right? When attorneys pass the bar, you know, that's a big deal. That's how you know someone's an attorney. So on Facebook, people actually like those pages, and it increases your chances of being able to advertise specifically to them. Hashtag stereotype. Next, we talk about competitors. It's very important to find out businesses who are already doing what your company wants to do, because then you can just advertise to the people who like their stuff. Next is education. As much as I'm not a fan of the traditional education system for entrepreneurs, you can tell a lot about somebody who went to college, who didn't go to college typically. Not all of the time, but typically. Marital status. The way that someone in a relationship thinks is completely different than somebody who's single thinks. Or maybe it's not, but it should be. And then lastly is gender. We all know that men and women speak different languages. And then income. Depending on how much money you make, it completely changes the way you make a decision. So right now, what you want to do, now that you've had this long explanation, is to take these tear sheets, or if you have the online version, you want to follow along and you want to answer them about every single product or service that you or your client has. Because my friends, that's how you win. Okay, so check it out. The next part of this exercise is designed to help you determine which of those product or services that we just went through actually may be winners and ones that you should focus on for the sake of this campaign. So let's walk through them. So basically what you're doing now is you're grading these product or services, right? So you already kind of graded on the first sheet, but here's a better way to really dial in what you should be selling. Question number one, how urgent is the need for this product or service? Right? It's always easier to sell somebody who's in the most pain. So if you have a product or service that lends itself to people being able to put it off and not having to take action right now, it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge, because then you got to be more creative to give people a reason to take action immediately. So what I want you to do is go ahead and score that product or service on a scale of 1 to 5, depending on what that answer was. Next, how non-competitive is their niche? You guys, I hate to break it to you, but if you have a gym, there's a lot of competition within a 1-mile radius. Stop thinking your business is unique, because that type of lies to yourself, those type of rationalizations, which is spelled L-I-E-S, will get your business in trouble. So give yourself a score on 1 to 5 of how non-competitive the niche is, 5 being the highest. Next is how affordable it is. Unfortunately, price does matter. However, there's a caveat. If you're selling something really expensive to rich people, then that wouldn't matter as much. So just think of it critically before you just write stuff down. The next is a little tricky. Which objective are you trying to accomplish? Okay? Which objective are you trying to accomplish? So I want you to see the key down below, which is number 4. The first objective is number 1, purchasing something online. A transaction made, a payment received online. Number 2 is getting somebody to meet you in person. Number 3 is book an appointment / schedule an appointment for a service. Number 4 is like register for a webinar or an online training. And number 5 is to collect like name, email, and phone number. So notice the grading here. You only get a 1 if you're trying to sell something directly online without talking to any humans. It's very challenging to do, and it's usually left for experts or brands with a lot of trust and following with their community. All right, so that's huge. The in-person only gets a 2 because getting somebody to commit their time Getting somebody to pause their life, get a babysitter, and travel to go meet you, the person they've never heard of before, is difficult. And then the third one, booking an appointment, if it's online and just a call, you're still asking somebody to give you their time, which is our #1 asset. But then it gets easy. If you just want people to register for a webinar that they can or cannot show up to, that's pretty easy. Or just getting someone to give you their name, email, and phone number, that's going to be your highest probability. But again, if you don't have the sales experience or sales team to follow up with them, well, then you may be in trouble. All right? So I want you to, based off the objective, go ahead and input one of these numbers inside of the chart. Next is rate your social presence. How many likes and followers do they have? That matters. If you're trying to advertise to the person who's got 30 likes on Facebook and they're just getting started, which I forbid you to work with, this is why. It makes it super freaking hard and expensive to get a hold of the people that you want to get a hold of. Next is, how would you rate your content? We talked about that. Just go ahead and put it in the score. I asked you that in the previous sheet too. Next is the sales process, right? The sales process, meaning the people who are going to pick up the phone and dial, are they actually good at what they do? If this is a 1, then the entire campaign will not work if you're trying to collect a name, email, and phone number. No matter what you do, it will never work. So you have to change your course of action, or you've got to find a different sales rep, period. Next, is there an opportunity to scale? Is there an opportunity to scale? Meaning, is this such a small company that even if you hit it out of the park, they're only ever going to be able to spend $500 in advertising because that puts them at capacity? If it does, then what are you doing wasting your time if you're a marketer? However, if you're the business owner and it can max out your schedule and you're happy with your lifestyle business, then who cares? So you need to score that according to your personal needs, desires, and wants. And then lastly, how easy is it to find their ideal audience? You guys, it's really easy online to find people who like cats and dogs because they're posting about it every single day. They join groups, they like fan pages, they follow other dogs and cats. But if your industry isn't like that, then it's going to be a little bit more challenging and it's going to take a little bit more creativity, but nonetheless, it's still very possible. And I'll show you how to do that in the upcoming videos later. And then the ad says, we need you to make Spring Break 2017 the best one yet. Don't miss out. Now, this video right here, how long is the video?
It's about 8 to 10 seconds. It's only 6 to 7 slides, so it's a slideshow video, about 10 seconds long. Yeah.
Gotcha. So it's a slideshow video. Okay, I'm just taking notes here, and this is really how I take notes, just a big ass screen like this. It says Cancun 2017 Spring Break, top destination. I gotta take this off. Top destination, exclusive events, and the world's top DJs. Don't miss out on the best week of your life. Cancun 2017 is already filling up, so don't wait, get info today. Question for you, when it says top DJs, is that a true story, or is that just something that you guys are like kind of hyping up?
That is something we're hyping up.
Fair enough. But do the DJs have any followings? Do they have any kind of brand awareness at all?
No, I'm sorry, repeat that question?
The DJs, do they have a following on Facebook or Instagram?
Oh, I am not informed enough to know which DJs are there. I was just given that ad copy and I put it on there.
And the real hot DJs, okay. All right, well, we'll get there. So that's the ad, and then lastly, we got the page that they go to from here. Oh, it still works with the gloves. That's cool. All right, so Spring Break 2017, it's got the phone number there. Cancun Spring Break 2017, best week of your life is right around the corner. Here's what's included in the all-inclusive package: transportation from your college, round-trip flights, 6 nights all-inclusive, transportation to Cancun, bonus 1, free catamaran party cruise, bonus 2, free Coco Bongo party package, bonus 3, free Senor Frogs party. I think I've been there. You guys been to Senor Frogs? Oh yeah, everybody's been to fucking Senor Frogs at some point. Starting from $14.45, book before November 10th and get $50 off for an early booking. How many of you, and those of you listening too, are excited about saving $50 off of a $1,500 item? Raise your hand.
Raise your hand right now. No one's raising their hand, John. No one's raising their hand.
Okay.
Okay, so let's talk about this. Have a Thompson tour rep contact me. So when someone sells one of these, how are they being sold, John?
They talk to a travel agent over the phone, and they're explained all the package details, and then they get their credit card once they agree to it. It's all by phone.
So everything is done by phone. That's huge to know. You guys, listen, you cannot figure out what's right or wrong with a campaign until you figure out how it's being sold, right? Now, how do you feel about the salesmen, the people actually closing? Are they strong like bull or are they weak?
No, I would say they are weak at best.
At best. Great.
Weak at best. I love that description. Okay, fair enough. Now, is there a way to change that? Because at the end of the day, if they're weak at best, no matter how many quality leads that you send, it may be a little toughy-wuffy.
Yeah, I don't know how to coach them through the closing process. I just know how to generate them. I'm just trying to position myself as a lead generation guy.
Okay, let me tell you something about being a lead generation guy, because I positioned myself as that, right? So this is what everybody needs to understand, especially there's a lot of people that we meet that are like, oh, we only do creative advertising and we only like create images and fix their brand and shit like that. Here's the truth, okay? Your client only cares about making money. Here's the bigger truth. Let's say you're the best lead generator in the world. Like John, let's say right now you bring these people 500 quality leads that you say are quality, right? But they close 0 and you're charging them $3,000 a month. I hate to break it to you, but you're an expense. You think you're doing a good job, but you're an expense because they're not closing. So unfortunately, as lead generators, our job is to make sure they close. It doesn't just stop at the delivery, and I had to learn that the hard way because I used to have that same mentality. And then I bring leads to somebody and be like, well, you can't close, that's your fault. And they say, yeah, it is our fault. But while we work on that, I'm gonna stop paying you, Billy. So you lose when your client loses. That's the realest truth ever. I want everybody to understand it.
The issue that I'm having now is that there's so much competition and we're losing a lot of our market share.
Got it.
My main mode of advertising previously to this was basically like Groupon and Living Social so that I could get that nationwide exposure and then convert clients once they call.
Okay, gotcha. So in other words, upsell them. So hey, let me just get on your radar, right? And then from there, I'll sell you some other package.
Okay, yes, pretty much.
Is that what you guys were doing for the most part?
Well, we do that, and then also, like, if they just call and they say, "Hey, we saw you on Groupon," we'll say, "Okay, great, we'll match that offer here in the office, so that we receive that full discounted price. Obviously, through Groupon, we only get half or whatever the discounted price is."
Got it. Okay, so Carly, let me ask you this question: have you guys ever done any kind of advertising with social media?
Yes, I have. I've tried several different campaigns on Facebook, and honestly, they were not that successful. I spent about $800 one time in a few days, and I was just so disappointed with the results. I literally, I got 2 bookings out of it, and 2 bookings at full price is $100 each, $200. I spent, almost $1,000 to get those 2 people. It said online that I had a huge reach. A lot of people saw the ad, but in terms of return, it wasn't very successful.
Gotcha. Now, my question to you is, what did you say in that advertisement, and who'd you show it to?
Well, we picked out our demographics. We tried to target mostly female. We tried to target the people that we know come from different states, so like California, Arizona, Colorado, our target market. And then in the ad itself, we tried to get them to learn more about the product. So something like, is it your birthday? Want to party for free? Something like that. You know what I mean? So that we already know that you're turning 21 and you can party for free if you just bring your friends. Basically, kind of a deal.
Gotcha. Okay. So I think I have enough. The last question I want to ask you is, being in business for 5 years, how's your content? Do you have videos kind of capturing this experience that you're selling?
Yes, we do, but to be honest with you, I know that I need to kick up my game in that department in terms of like having maybe a professional photographer come on and you know, be with us for the whole night. Somebody who has like a drone that can make it look really cool.
Yeah.
The previous people that we've had come out and photograph and kind of videograph, we're just amateur.
Okay, so I'm going to give you something that can literally help you right now, this second. But first question, rate your video content that you have right now on a scale of 1 to 10.
4.
Okay, so about a 4. What about your pictures?
Pictures, I would say the pictures are a 5.
Okay, so they're kind of in the middle-ish, right?
It's a pretty unique and niche product, and it's also the only altitude training room in Portland.
Oh.
But the beautiful part about this, too, they also do functional training, like for you know, ultra marathon runners, for triathletes, for long distance riders. They
Love
got
it.
a chiropractic element side of it, massage therapy, acupuncture, naturopathic care, physical therapy. I mean, the list fucking goes on almost, you know?
Cool. Yeah, this is different. So when you're saying altitude training, literally, it'd be the equivalent of training in high altitude. That's what it is.
Bingo, yeah. And so athletes actually do this. Like, so for example, you know, if you want to take a shortcut, you do what Lance Armstrong did, and you basically inject yourself with EPO.
Okay.
Another way, no doping, hashtag that sucks. You know, if you, you know, but if you want to get the same benefits, you know, so you can train in altitude rooms rather than like having to go to Denver for like 6 months out of the year to train at altitude. Well, this simulates the same thing and actually creates a oxygen-deprived environment, which then what means is your red blood cells actually start increasing your ability to absorb oxygen. So it means that, you know, when you're on your long-term marathons, long rides and stuff, you actually don't get winded as quickly.
Damn. So this is for that high-performance athlete that really is going to be realistically, when it comes to game time, they're going to be in high altitudes. So it's like practice how you play, right? And if you have nowhere to practice, how could you possibly prepare for that?
Yeah, well, the other thing, too, though, so it's not necessarily actually meant just for athletes that are actually going to be in a high-altitude environment. A lot of athletes actually train at high altitude. Like, for example, like, you know, Olympians, you know, Nike actually has a project where they have, I think, Mo Farah and then also all of their, like, 10K and 5K runners. Even if they're not going to be running the race at altitude, they train them in these oxygen-deprived environments because then when they go even down to sea level, they've got a distinct advantage because
Absolutely.
their red blood cells are used to surviving on less oxygen.
Let me tell you, Santa might have to take his ass down to the altitude. You know, I don't even think the North Pole got it like that. Okay, so let's jump into what this is. So from my understanding, you're going to run this for a client. Are you going to present this to them, or have they already seen this? Like, where are you at in relation to the client?
So they saw it today. I'm actually running it tomorrow.
Okay, love it. So they saw this already, and then you're saying, hey, before I run it, let me double check and make sure I got all my I's dotted and T's crossed.
Yeah, no, actually, so I actually got those approved after the camp call. Otherwise, I would have been hitting you up earlier.
Nice. Okay, good stuff. Oh, hey! I didn't see you there. We've now gathered information about the organization and the people behind it. We've also gathered information about the products or services that they should or shouldn't be selling. But the last bit of information we need to gather is about their processes. Come with me. Oh, are you following me? Check it out. What we have here as a part of the Genius Workbook is probably my favorite exercise because it brings the most clarity to what you should write in the advertising copy, right? So at the end of the day, we know we're going to take all this information and create advertisements to attract our ideal customer. But one of the number one questions that I get, and keep that edit in there, it feels real. But one of the number one questions that I get is, Billy, I don't know what to say. And to all of you who are challenged in regards to writing persuasive advertisement copy, all you have to do is always be solving problems. Let me show you what I mean. I want you to take each of those products or services, and I want you to map out what they are. So just randomly off the top of my head, you know, you take someone like a dentist, right? And an orthodontist, let's pretend they're combined in one. So one service that they have is like braces. One service that they have is cleaning. And by the way, you know my rule, no more than one sentence or a couple words. Don't be getting long-winded on me. Let's say one service, what else do dentists do? I don't freaking know. I think they just brush shit and they brace stuff. We'll just leave those two. Cavity removal, right? Okay. So let's talk about the problem and solution. The problem when someone comes in looking for braces is that they have a gap in their smile. The problem when somebody comes in for, what was this one? For cleaning, is that they're in jeopardy of losing their teeth, right? They have dirty and they have stank breath. Stank breath. Now, what I want you guys to realize is that sometimes there's multiple problems. There's multiple problems. But every time that you create an advertisement, if you really want people to respond right away and take action, you just have to promise to solve one of their problems and actually deliver on that promise. So the solution with here, the braces, is, or the solution to the people with the gap, actually we should switch this on the form. So Paul, note this real fast on the version that you guys have at home. I want the problem here, and then, actually you can't have the problem with, shut up. All right, I'm gonna just keep teaching. I'm gonna keep teaching. Okay, here. So we got the braces, we got the cleaning, right? The braces handles the gap. The cleaning handles the not losing your teeth and the stank breath. And the solution here is, you know, coming to dentist for cleaning, right? You can't read that. And then the other one here is get braces. All right, and the reason why we're doing this simple exercise is because a lot of the times we run into the, oh my gosh, what do I say syndrome. And this is all you say. So if you're horrible at creating ads and you say, hey, do you have a huge gap in your teeth to the point where you're afraid to smile? Well, come into my office and I'll give you braces. If you can just say that, you'll at least get somebody. So that's the very first step with the process. And then after that, you guys really need to take the time to map out the actual step-by-step customer path. Let me show you what I mean. You can see here in the attention assets column, and then actually let me start here. Up top left, it says attention assets. It's then followed by sales mechanism. It's then asked the question, who's receiving the inquiry? And lastly, it says process payment. What we're creating here is a visual representation for the steps that the customer must take in order for money to go in your client's pocket. All right? So, attention assets. What are you talking about, Billy? Right now, whether your client realizes it or not, they are using sales funnels, right? And sometimes their sales funnel is simple. They may just have a sign outside where people walk in to their store and they're greeted by Sally, who's about a 3, and when it comes to closing, 50%, and she takes payments in person. You guys see what I did there? A very simple visual representation of what happens. See sign, walk into store, greeted by Sally. She closes half of them. Money by putting money into the register in person. That's it. You guys, you need to do this with each product or service. And I'll explain more why as we're creating these advertising campaigns. But essentially what you want to do is identify the company's processes, find the ones that are working best, and then don't change it. Just figure out a way to use this new shit in 2017 and fit right into their process that's already working. So let me break down this key to you so that you guys can do this in a repeatable way with the tear sheets in the workbook. Pretty cool, right? All you have to do, and let me erase these sections here, all right, is use the key. So you ask the client, hey, Mr. Client, currently at this moment, what are ways that you're getting attention to your business? And they say, well, right now, Billy, we just have a blog that's really popping. So, all right, cool. You put B for blog. And then you say, all right, well, coming from the blog, how do people get a hold of you? And then they say, well, Billy, what we do is we ask them to apply for our services. So that's A for an application. Well, this is pretty cool. And then from there they say, what happens to that lead once they apply? And then we're like, oh, that's funny. Doug answers the phone And Doug is about a 4 when it comes to closing, but he closes 75% of the time. This is fantastic. And when he does it, he processes payment over the phone. Voila. Now we have a very clear visual representation of exactly what happens, which is going to be extremely critical for the next steps in the process. That was pretty good, huh? That was good. I like the way that flowed, baby. And then also, too, what we'll do is right here, Courtney and Nicole, let's add like this box in half so there's a place for his score right next to it. So it's very easy for you guys to just follow along the process. So again, I can't stress enough, as you guys are learning, this course is the recipe. This is now, let's go into this. Number one, we got multiple parts where this can break, okay? So we got the ad here. First thing we do, we gotta get people to get excited about the opportunity. Then we got the landing page where we collect their email, name, and phone number, right? And then here, a call. How fast are they calling these people?
Within 24 hours.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you all the realness right now. Okay, so everyone follow me here if you can see in this camera. So there's an advertisement that says, hey, do you want to go to Cancun? It's a slideshow with some pictures. Right here it says, give us your name, email, and phone number if you're interested in coming. Once that happens, somebody gives them a call. Once the call happens, if they decide to buy, it's $1,500. And this, by the way, takes about 24 hours to call. And what we do know is that we got weak sales. Okay? So you ready for this, John?
I'm ready.
Okay, let me go back here to the ad. By the way, I can't see like comments or anything, so if you guys have a question, make sure you guys tell me. So if you guys have questions as we go through it, let me know, and I'll make sure we're on top of this. Okay? Okay, fine. So you keep running that. All right, let's start with the targeting, okay? So when you ran this ad campaign right now, how much is it costing you to get a lead? Let's go with this ad.
Let me check real fast here. I am...
And also, how much have you spent in total on the campaign, if you don't mind sharing with us?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you how much I had to spend in data. Okay,
Perfect.
So on that campaign, we spent $78,
And how many leads?
I don't have the, you know what, I have to log into ClickFunnels to get the actual leads that came in because I don't have the conversion pixel set up on Facebook.
Got it. Do you know ballpark what we got for that?
I'm going to say 5.
Okay, that's fine. So somebody give me some math. 78 divided by 5. Let's get the cost per lead. 78 divided by 5. Go Santa. Go Santa. Go Santa.
What the? 15.6.
Okay. $15.50 is what you're paying. All right. So guys and girls that are listening today, I want everyone to pay attention. Every time, shit, that's the wrong thing. Where are we at? Oh, here we go. Every time that John spends $15.50, he gets somebody to put in their name, email, and phone number about this Cancun trip, okay? So John, if I'm you right now in these shoes, there's a couple things that I would do. I'm just gonna play it to you how I would. Number one is, even though I see like 7 things we can make this better right now, and I'll go through them with you, the number one thing I'm looking at is $15 for a lead or someone that could potentially be a $1,500 sale. Doesn't actually sound that bad after all. However, we have no idea what it cost us, and I'll do it like this. Let me give you guys a visual for this, okay? To actually make the sale. So out of those 15, do we know if anyone converted so far and has actually booked a trip?
I do not know that number, and I'd have to find that out.
Okay, so John, for your life's sake, here's what you literally have to do, especially if you want these people for long term. Number one, you need a system where you can check the sales right away, okay? Own the system, or at least have access to it. Because when you're running the campaign, you may be able to turn on the changes that I'm making you right now within the next 3 hours, but you have no idea if it's affecting the campaign. And if that doesn't happen, you can't really do shit, right? So you need to own the system and get the data, all right? Or it's gonna be impossible for you to do your job, period, okay? And then in addition to that, what I would, have you used a system called CallRail before?
I have not.
Okay. What I would do, because you said, hey, the salesmen are weak at best and they're really not on top of their stuff, I would use a system called callrail.com. It allows you to, I think it's free at first when you start, or something like, or at least it's fucking cheap. But either way, it allows you to record their calls, okay? Now this goes into protecting yourself. If you're the delivery lead guy, right, and there's an owner, but then there's a salesperson, the salesperson is gonna tell the owner, well, the leads were weak. The leads were weak, boss, so I couldn't close, I'm sorry. That's what the salesman's gonna say. And at that moment in time, you say, what? And then you pull out callrecorder.com, you pick out the conversations, and then you send it to the owner. And you say, hey, that $5,000 you spent in advertising last month went to the fucking trash because your salesman threw it away, right? So that's protecting yourself right there. But more importantly than that, when you listen to the calls, maybe you or another salesman you have a great relationship with can actually record them doing a demonstration call. I would record it and then send it to them so they have something to model. That's going to increase their chances of closing. So far, are you with me?
I am. I just don't understand how CallRail works if the travel agent's calling them back. That's all.
Well, in that case, then they would actually dial out and use like a software like Ring Central so they can record it. But if it's an inbound lead, at least you'll get that. But I would definitely recommend using a Ring Central and recording it outbound too. Or if they're using Androids, there's an app called Call Recorder. I think it's $6.95, and you can record every call that's going out or coming in. Super simple. Sound good?
Okay.
Okay, so that's starting on the back end here, the call. The other thing, I will tell you this, and this is for everybody listening today. If you don't call back a lead within 15 minutes, you ain't never gonna hear from them again.
Okay.
Period. If you don't call a lead within 15 minutes, you're not gonna hear from them again. 24 hours, if this is all they can admit to, then John, you tell them, I'm sorry, but I can't help you. That's it, it's that simple. I'm so sorry, but I can't help you.
Right.
Because if not, you're setting yourself up for failure, right? So that's on the call side. So a couple things to retrace the steps. Let's start recording the inbound and outbound calls so you can protect yourself with the owner. And then also you can train the people via video to get better. The other thing is we're gonna fix the time that they're actually calling in. So what you do is you keep stats and say, hey, we just sent you, 15 leads. You guys only got a hold of 2 of those leads. The reason is because you fucking waited 24 hours to do it, right? So you say to make a direct impact to your bottom line, let's just fucking call them back faster, okay? Now, let's go to your name, email, and phone number, all right? The number one thing I wouldn't do if I'm you, and I'm actually kind of working backwards here. Let me go forward first. I want to run to the actual ad. This right here. We need you to make Spring Break 2017 the best one yet. Don't miss out. I think it's smart that you're using a video ad because then you can retarget the people who watch it. I don't think it's smart that it's a slideshow with just like 6 to 7, 8 seconds clips because I think you're actually cheapening the experience, right? At least show like a minute video of some people having fun or going crazy, or if there's any footage from last year's event, I would use that. And if you don't have it, you don't have it. It is what it is. But in an ideal world, that's what I would do. Now let's talk about your targeting a little bit. Something that I'm familiar with a college experience is within college, not just everybody goes to Cancun or Cabo or whatever the hell it is. But there's certain people who are more likely to want to attend those events. One of those groups, Jordan,
Yes.
in a college, Rhea, in a college, who are the most likely people to want to go to Cabo or Cancun, and they'll also bring lots of referrals. Who is that?
Sororities and sororities.
Sororities and fraternities, my man. Sororities and fraternities. So you should be stacking the interest. You should be doing the college, Penn State, and then in addition to that, in one of your ad sets, you should do Delta Tau Delta, right? Delta Tau Delta. And then, whatever the fuck.
Right.
And then you should do another one called Penn State, and that one should say fucking Lambda Chi, or whatever the fuck, or A Chi O, or whatever the sororities are. You're just gonna have to Google some shit. Alpha Phil Alpha. Got him. Alpha Phil Alpha. Let's go. So you should be targeting all those people because they're the ones that are likely to party. And they're likely to never go by themselves, okay? So, in this page, on your landing page, I got a couple questions. Number one is on this form, enter your name, email, phone number. The fourth one you're gonna add in, who are you bringing with you? Actually, you say, how many are you bringing with you?
Assume.
How many are you bringing with you? and I would make it a pull-down menu, and they select 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right? How many?
That's brilliant.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Yes.
So now here too. Now, okay. So at the price here, starting from $1,455, let's take it out completely. Period. They're going to Cancun. Okay. They know it costs money, right? That shit's not cheap. Let the salespeople handle that on the phone, right? Because at the end of the day, if they don't go to Cancun during summer, you're going to hit them up again, ask them if they want to go to Lake Tahoe, right? So you want to collect as much data as possible, so next time when you're running promotions to them, it's not going to cost you an arm and leg. So we just need to get the people to raise their hand that says, hey, I'm a partier, I fit this crowd, I want to be updated when you guys are doing cool-ass trips, all right?
Okay.
Also, too, the value is created after the experience. The value is created after the experience. The value is created after the experience. When you say, free Coco Bongo party package, that's only cool if you've been to a Coco Bongo party package before, right? So until I've been to Senor Frogs and know what it's all about, I don't really actually care about your bonus, period. So unless you have some like pictures or one-line description, I would actually go with a longer form sales page here and talk about like why they should care about Senor Frogs. If you're targeting men, then the only reason why you should care is if there's cute girls there. So I would show a picture of Senor Frogs going in, right, to the guys. And vice versa, if you're the cute girls, you want to know, are there the cute boys? So on the girl freaking landing page, I'm going to put a bunch of dudes looking ripped, like Uncle Dylan is prime, you know what I'm saying? I would do that. But that's, you know, you got to figure out who you're messaging. So guys and girls need to be separate in the advertisements, also the fraternities, and in your ad copy, you reflect that. You reflect that. So you sit here and you say, hey, Delta Tell Delta, looking for something to do this spring break. Well, how about you and your brothers come and fucking come to Cabo or whatever the fuck we're going, right? And then you duplicate that same advertisement, except you change the name every single time. So that's going to increase your click-through rate, which will decrease your cost per click and bring down your overall cost per lead. Okay?
Okay.
So I'll give you those changes to start, run that, tell me if that doesn't bring your cost down, but the very first thing I would do before this is find out the number of leads you've brought them and how many have closed. Because the truth is, if they're closing, let me do some math for y'all. All right, let's say it costs you 15 bucks to get a lead, right? And if they're closing 1 out of 5, okay, we would take 15, the cost per lead, times 5 more. What's that math, people?
75.
75 bucks. Way too smart for me, okay? $75. Then you ask the question, hey, Mr. Customer, are you guys cool with paying 75 bucks to acquire a customer that's paying you 1,500 bucks? And they may tell you yes. Then the solution is to spend more fucking money. Don't change anything, right? Just spend more. So until you have a direct alignment with what your customer actually wants, it's going to be very hard to say which direction needs to go. But those are exactly the plays I would make. Those are the exact moves that I would make. John, was that helpful?
That was awesome, man. I totally appreciate the breakdown, and I'm going to implement these things right away.
All right, so number one, guys, content does matter on social media. And so, Carla, if you can see my screen right now, I'm going to lay out to you what I believe and what I would do if I was you, okay? So first, you can try it with the content that you have, but I'm going to highly recommend that you fork out a few $100 to pay some college kid in Vegas and trade him some freaking party tours to make you a badass video. You guys have trade where you can do. So your step one, and guys, I'm giving our play-by-play here, is you need a 60-second video. That way you can use it on 3 different platforms, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Instagram. All right, you want to be using all 3, especially Instagram. This is a hot button. If your video is any longer than 60 seconds, they won't allow you to do it anymore. So you want to have a 60-second video there. Is that something that you can agree to do?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, perfect. Now for your targeting, especially with these 2, Facebook and Instagram, let's talk about that. In the Ads Manager, the Power Editor, I don't know, have you ever used the Power Editor before on Facebook?
No.
Gotcha. So Facebook has a whole different platform outside of boosting that lets you do a lot of cool shit, and I'll give you some of those features right now. So you do want to stick with your gender of females because they do plan in advance, right? So that's fantastic. Let's also stick with the age range that you know pays, and that's good. That's cool too. The other thing that I want to point you at, and the reason why you probably reached people a lot last time, but it wasn't that specific, is this, is you need to be targeting by birthdays. Do you realize that with Facebook and Instagram, you can target and advertise to people based on upcoming birthdays within a month?
No, I didn't realize that.
Well, you're welcome. Hallelujah, praise the Lord, right? So Power Editor is what you want to be using, and that's what allows you to do that, and that's why you take a course like mine, so you know these things, because they're always coming up with cool shit. But you can actually advertise to people with upcoming birthdays, and you can do it, right, to, like you said earlier, you nailed it, you said on those specific states, so choose your Arizonas, but go beyond the states, go to the zip codes, go to the college towns where you know they're hanging out and they're likely to go to Vegas, okay? And here's what I would do. I'm gonna give you a different layer on top of all of this. Are you ready for it? So, and this is at least one option you can do, it doesn't have to be this, but on Facebook, the Greek life system, fraternities and sororities, I'm sure you got a few of those. Is that a big client of yours in the past?
I mean, no, but I would like them to be.
Okay, so check this out. You can advertise to people who are part of a certain fraternity or sorority, who have upcoming birthdays, who live in the states that are most likely to travel to you, Arizona, California, and you can simply put in there a 60-second video, and let me write the ad here. You have a 60-second video, and then the ad copy can say something like, hey, your birthday is coming up in a few weeks, and then just ask them a question. Watch this. Want to come to Vegas? Right? And when you come, guess what? Number one, you're not going to have to wait in any lines. Number two, we're going to hook you up with all the best nightclubs. Matter of fact, we're going to plan your whole entire trip right here. Watch this video below to see what it looks like. Now they watch this video, okay? And boom. If you'd like to do this, they go from now, Now they go from video ad here about birthdays to your landing page here, which has their name, email, and phone. Actually, fuck that. I have a better idea for you. You ready for this? I want you to keep all the targeting. I want you to run a video advertisement. But what I want you to do is use something that's kind of newer to Facebook called messenger ads. Messenger ads, and check it out. Literally, with one click of a button, people can send a message directly to your page. So you can say, hey, your birthday's in a few weeks, want to come to Vegas, we don't wait in line, da-da-da, here's the experience you get. If you're interested, click the button below and send us a message. Once they click, it'll automatically send them a message and you're good to go. And you're engaged with them. And also what that allows you to do is scale your time, Carly. So if people are looking at messages, you can do multiple chats at the same time as opposed to relying on the phone. And then if someone's serious about coming, you can bring them to a phone call where you will close and get their credit card. Make sense? Does that make sense, Carly?
Yeah, that does.
So that's the exact advertising campaign I would create for you. And then the next steps is you can retarget people. So after that, I would retarget all these people who watch this video on Facebook and Instagram, continue to remind them, and then I would also target them on YouTube. But in summary, if you simply implement that small strategy, I promise you that will work and you will make money. And here's the other thing I can promise you. Your competition, Carly, has no clue about this stuff and they're absolutely not doing it. So the market is wide open for you. You just need to take action and learn how to do this stuff. I'm going to stop you right there. I just saved you a whole bunch of money right now. Okay, check it out. So when you set your ads, and I see what you have right here, this is how you want to do it, okay? So one is we really want to identify which group is actually going to be the most responsive. If we group them all up in there, you may run the campaign, and if it goes really bad, it's crappy because you don't know what's actually working. For example, you may target people who love triathlons and their cost per lead may be like $3. You may target people who love CrossFit and their cost per lead may be $30. And then if you turn it off, we just don't know what's working, right? So we really want to be able to identify what is the hot button here. So what I'm going to recommend is you actually create 5 different ads. And we'll start slower. Create 3 ads, okay, to start. And who I would target there, and the ad's going to be exactly the same, you're just going to duplicate it, okay? So there's going to be 3 ad sets here, excuse me. So number 1 is going to be US, I think it's USA Triathlon, right? I think we've targeted them a bunch. We've done some shit like that in the past. We sold them a whole bunch of shit for many years. So do that. That's a little hot one. We've tested that, okay? USA Triathlon. And specifically, and let me actually erase these other 2 here. Hold on a second. Use this nifty little board. 1 second. I'll just do these 2. All right. So number 1 is US Triathlon, okay? The other one that I would say, which is kind of similar, but again, these are just ones we've had great results on, is Ironman. Ironman, okay? Okay. And then, in addition to this, what were some of the other groups that you were saying that people like would really appreciate? It was bike riding, cyclists. We did shit like that too. Actually, we've done a lot of bike stuff now that I think about it. So the next one, what's like the biggest? What's the fucking race where everybody bikes? Tour de Francia, what the fuck?
Yeah,
the fuck?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the wine one, Tour de Francia. Yeah.
Tour de France. My only concern is there might be people who like to watch that rather than participate. So I was actually focusing specifically on like Cycle Oregon and Seattle to Portland because both of those, like for example, Seattle to Portland is a 200-mile 2-day race. So it's hardcore. But people who like Tour de France might actually want to watch it rather than actually participate.
Watch this. So there's 2 schools of thoughts to that, right? So if you go with the super niche ones like that aren't going to have a giant audience, here's what happens. You run the advertisement, it works for like 2-3 weeks, and then you go through it. The reason why we like to go with the larger ones, because we think about scale of time. So for example, if you can make these 3 work and make it really profitable for them, the audiences are so large, they're gonna last you longer. So versus going with small little sects that may come through great, but only for 3 weeks versus 3 months, well, that's time you now have to spend optimizing that campaign, going back and forth, taking you away from prospecting and scaling your business. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So and again, it's not like if you're just going to impress the client and doing those things, it's not bad. But for us, you always try and win to the largest ad set so you can freaking go and blow your own shit out of the water. Now, at the same time, I'm giving you 3 for the sake of this example. But if you want to test the hardcore racing ones that are directly to the area, do those too, right? And don't even start crazy like I would. I'll give you exactly, literally, throw $10 to each one. For something like this, you'll know exactly what you need to do, okay? And then what you're going to need to go on top of that, of these 4 $10, now you have to go men, and then I want you to copy this and do this one for women, okay? So you're going to do US Triathlon men, US Triathlon women, Ironman men, Ironman women, Tour de Francia men and women, and then whatever the hardcore shit is, men and women. So essentially you're going to be double spending that. That makes sense?
Right. Now, the only thing we're missing there, the category that's underserved is actually endurance running, which I think this would also be very, very good for ultra marathons, marathons, and things of that nature too. Okay,
endurance running. All right, same thing there. So now you got a $100 spend on your first test, okay? Now I'm going to give you something that's going to take a little bit longer, but it's going to make all the difference in the world. So now that we know those 5 groups that we're going to focus on, instead of Hey Portland Athletes and wrapping everybody up in one, copy it. And now let's get specific, right? So, hey, Portland Triathletes. Whenever you call someone out specifically, they're just more likely to respond. You see what I'm saying? So here, instead of Hey Portland Athletes, Hey Portland Triathletes, okay? And then here, instead of Ironman, Hey Portland Ironman people, whatever the fuck it is, Hey Endurance people, and you just change out the introduction every single time. But this line changes here, right? So we got to kind of fix the copy too in a couple ways. So right now it says Evolution Healthcare and Fitness is giving the next 20 athletes 2 one-hour altitude room training room passes for free. I love the offer. Like, I would want to do that. You get 2 of them and they're 1-hour passes. Maybe I can bring one to a friend, something like that. That's cool. I get to see the experience. However, instead of giving them the scientific definition about red blood cells, because all that's fantastic, but here's the truth. They don't really give a shit. This is what they want to know. Hey, I do triathletes. My race is coming up. I don't want to get beat. I want to place better. The difference between good athletes and great athletes is fucking the altitude that they train in, right? So have you ever wondered why the Broncos won fucking the Super Bowl and this year when they played in the snow, da-da-da? Because they were better trained. Like, but I would make it specific and give them examples.
Hey, everyone who's watching this, if you love what Billy just did, you got to go to thefinal100.com because this just blew my fucking mind, and he'll do this for you all day long, folks.
Right,
Go do it right now before doors close.
This is probably the smartest guy I've talked to in a long time. Love it, Casey, man. But no, dude, like that's good stuff. And honestly, too, dude, I think this is a great little niche. If this works, like you can scale the shit out of this to a lot of places. We've seen honestly everything in the fitness space, dude. Like there's nothing we haven't seen. I've never seen this. So, and it's huge. And I love the way you took the video to actually demonstrate and show it because you're exactly right. People don't know what to expect. Is it going to be a 10? Is it, what is it? So when they say, oh, it's just a regular room, except it's way more intensified, that's awesome. Right? And then also, too, if you really want to go to the next level, Casey, what you do is you take the video, doesn't need to be long, but you find workout clips for that particular sport. For example, the video about cyclists, show the guy on the bike. Maybe not the guy wearing jeans on the bike, but, Right. I got you guys. I see you. But either way, like, find a good clip of that. And then same with the running one, find the people who are sprinting. Just make it relevant, right, to them, because it makes it seem like that's a specialist and that's what you do. So little changes like that make a big difference in the world, and it allows you to keep campaigns running and to kill it, man.
Cool. Man, I really appreciate it. Thanks so much, guys.
Absolutely, brother. And then let us know. So, what is the Qzx process? Well, I'll tell you guys, for a long time, probably the last 4 or 5 years, I've been creating advertising campaigns for some of the largest companies in the world for our company. And hands down, when I look at my income and I look at when I've been able to generate the most amount of money, there's a direct correlation between the bigger the problem I solve, the more money I can make. So do you guys want me to show you the #1 mechanism, formula, system, and process that I use to solve big problems? Of course you do. And that, my friends, is the Qzx process. Walk with me. So what is this Qzx process that you've heard so much about? Well, let me show you. First of all, understand that genius has nothing to do with being a genius. Just my name is Billy Jean, and my middle name happens to be Gene, and I thought it was genius to make the word genius an acronym. So it's spelled incorrectly when you're trying to remember it. It's G-E-N-E-I-U-S. What does this mean? Well, it's the customer acquisition blueprint. And I would go ahead and write it all out for you, but my handwriting is horrible and it kind of hurts my arm. So here's what I want you to envision, and let's cue some corny music up to help me paint this picture. The point of you taking this course is to master a process that's going to allow you to create an automated conveyor belt that turns strangers into money in your pocket. Now, Billy, what does that mean? It means this. If you're a local business owner or a marketer trying to get results for a business owner, meaning helping them find more customers, you're in the right place. So let's take this automated crane that I speak of. In this system I show you, there are 6 elements. So what are these 6 elements? Well, #1 is the crane, #2 is the energy source, #3 is the conveyor belt, #4 is the converter, #5 is the safety net, and #6 are the coins. Now if you're like, Billy Jean, what the hell are you talking about right now? Well, let me try and draw it for you. Now for those of you who have been following us for some time, it's not good when I draw, but I'm going to try anyway, okay? Think of your business as a human that needs other humans to survive, okay? Which is true, right? You need humans to give you money to survive. Now, the problem with your business right now, why you're not growing, is you simply don't have enough customers. See, you're living on a bridge. Let me show you. Okay? Here's a bridge. Here's your business right here. That's you. I'll say you, biz, all right? And right here, here's your ideal customer. In order for your business to grow, you need an unlimited stream of these guys to cross this bridge and put money into your pocket. Is that correct? You just need more customers and you'd be good. But right now, you're trying old shit that doesn't work. You got the radio, you got the TV, you got flyers. And honestly, even more so than stuff that doesn't work is stuff that's just time consuming. Door to door, okay, get it, it can be effective, but nobody likes to do it and it takes forever. Cold calling, I get it, it can be effective, but nobody likes to do it and it takes forever. So imagine, as a way to get people across the bridge, right, the bridge that we talked about, instead of doing all of this with the cold calling and the door to door, they could take a conveyor belt. And they can go from here, point A, which is your customer, to point B, which is your business. And there was just a cool conveyor belt that they can just stand on, and it's gonna move them from each point in your sales process into finally paying you the bucks. So I think you understand what I'm saying in regards to this whole conveyor belt idea. But how do you take this idea and turn it into a reality? Let me show you. Woo! Look at that. This, my friends, is the automated conveyor belt. This is essentially what I'll be teaching you in ClickCenter Customers 2.0. Check it out. The crane here is representative of this idea that in 2017, you can place your advertisements in front of anybody in the entire world and you can go out and go get them. So we have the crane designed with a whole bunch of avatars and we're pulling our ideal customer from somewhere in the interwebs. Make sense? And then step 2 was the energy source. The energy source, in this case with paid advertising, is money. We put money into Facebook, we put money into Instagram, we put money into YouTube, we put money into Google in hopes to print out more money. So step 3 in that is here. The converter. This is your product. This is your service. This is the mechanism you use to turn these strangers in space into golden chips. These are your coins. And guess what? If a coin happens to fall off of the track, which they do sometimes, people get lost in your sales cycle, there's a trampoline to catch them. That's called retargeting. Those ads that follow you around the internet, that's what we use to get people back on the conveyor belt, so ultimately they can end up inside your pot of gold. Okay, so before I go, actually, I want to recap that for you one more time and kind of translate what those images mean in regards to the actual step-by-step steps you'll be taking to turn strangers who have never heard of you into paying customers. Step number 1, the crane. You have to grab their attention, right? You have to grab their attention with advertisements, headlines, images, and videos, all of which we'll cover in this course. Step number 2 is this whole automated machine needs energy to run. That energy is money. You have to put coins in the slots, meaning you have to pay Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Google if you want them to work for you. But the catch is you just want to make a whole lot more money than you're actually spending, and that's what we're the masters of. So 2 is the energy source, right? And sometimes it's best to use Facebook, sometimes it's best to use YouTube, sometimes it's best to use Instagram. We'll show you when to use what. And number 3 is the converter. You guys, this is your product or your service is what ultimately is going to turn strangers into buyers. So your sales process, the demonstration that you're giving them of your product is ultimately what's going to lead somebody to a decision. So we'll talk about different ways to deliver your product and service, whether it be a webinar, whether it be phone to phone, whether it be in face. We'll talk about that. And then in addition to that, number 4, when I mentioned the conveyor belt, the automated conveyor belt, this has to do with the follow-up sequence. Sometimes after experiencing your product or service just once, it's not enough. So you have to hit them with text messages. You have to hit them with phone calls and voice broadcast and email reminders. That's what the automated conveyor belt stands for. And then the fifth step here is once they come out of the sales cycle and they receive your automation, sometimes your money will fall off track, meaning customers will get lost in the sales process. And the problem is most businesses are doing nothing to recover those, meaning you're not following up. And so I'm going to teach you how to use retargeting, guys, how to use retargeting, advertisements, and follow-up, text messages, etc., to get these people back on the automated conveyor belt so they eventually turn into your pot of gold. That's what this course is all about. You should be really freaking excited right now because it works. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Qzx Customers 2.0, where I will teach you how to build an automated conveyor belt that turns complete strangers into a pot of gold. See you in the next video.